Is Rima Boripan, and I will start with a lecture to History of a Clinical Trial Regulation. Clinical trials are designed to assess the safety, efficacy, and pharmacokinetics of medical intervention in humans. Due to the potential risks involved, strict regularity oversight is necessary to protect the safety and the rights of the participants. The regularity framework for clinical trials evolved in response to unethical practices and misconduct in medical research. So let's start with the key historical developments. The first one is Nuremberg Code, which was in 1947. The Nuremberg Code was created after the atrocities committed by Nazi doctors during World War II. These experiments were conducted on prisons and concentration camps without consent and caused immense suffering. The code introduced key ethical principles. So the first one is informed consent. Participants must voluntarily agree to participate, fully understanding the risks. Voluntary participation, participants can withdraw from the study at any time. Risk benefit analysis research must be justified scientifically with the benefits outweighing the risks. The code laid the foundation for modern research ethics and clinical trial regulation. 2. Declaration of Helsinki. It was in 1964 and it's revised. Developed by the World Medical Association (WMA), the Declaration of Helsinki built upon the Nuremberg Code and added more detailed ethical guidelines for clinical research. Safeguard of participants, ensuring the safety and well-being of trial participants. Research protocols. All research must follow a protocol reviewed by an independent ethics committee. Informed consent. Reaffirmed the necessity for informed and voluntary consent. Risk benefit assessment. Emphasized that the benefits must outweigh the risks. Publication of the findings. Results must be published to ensure the transparency. Use of placebos. Placebo use is only accessible with no proven treatment exists. Post-trial access ensure participants can access the best intervention identified during the trial. The declaration has been revised several times to address the emerging ethical challenges in research. Notable misconduct in medical research. Several famous unethical studies highlighted the need for stricter regulation. Nazi experiments. It was in 1933 to the 1945. Any human experiments in concentration camp prisoners such as hypothermia and poison tests motivated by ideology rather than the science and thus lead to the creation of Nuremberg Code. Willowbrook hepatitis studies, and that was in 1956 to the 1970. Mentally disabled children were deliberately infected with hepatitis without a proper consent. Many were coerced into participation. Jewish chronic disease hospital study. It was in 1963. Elderly patients were injected with liver cancer cells without consent to study immune responses. Tuskegee syphilis studies was in 1932 to the 1972. 400 African American men with syphilis were denied treatment to observe the natural progression of disease even after penicillin became the standard treatment, and over 100 participants died. These unethical studies promoted significant reforms in research ethics and clinical trial regulation. So we finally start with the Europe directives and regulation. The European Union introduced regulation to ensure uniformity and participant safety in clinical trials across the member states. European Clinical Trials Directive established constant rules for conducting clinical trials across Europe with a focus on participant safety, ethics committee approval, and regularity oversight. Europe Regulation 536 to 2014 replaced the previous directive, emphasizing transparency, a streamlined approval process, and a single portal for trial submission, aiming to create a more efficient regulatory environment. Europe Medical Device Regulation complementing clinical trials regulation by overseeing the safety and efficacy of medical devices used in clinical trials. These regulations were implemented to harmonize clinical trials procedures and ensure better oversight in safety in medical research. So we finished the first part of the lecture too. Let's start with the second part, which is the definition of a medicinal product, drugs against medical devices. Medicinal product, or we can say it's a drug. A medicinal product or a drug is a substance or a combination of substance that is used to diagnose, prevent, treat, or alleviate the diseases. I mean here to prevent the symptoms or medical conditions in humans or animals, restore, correct, or modify the physiological functions. Medicinal products achieve their effects mainly through pharmacological, immunological, or metabolic actions. Examples of medicinal products: antibiotics used to treat bacterial infections, insulin used to manage the diabetes. Medical device: a medical device is any instrument, apparatus, implant, or software used for medical purposes that does not primarily work through pharmacological, immunological, or metabolic means. Usually works through physical or mechanical action. Examples of medical devices like a pacemaker, which is they are devices that is used to regulate the heart rhythm, and MRI machines used for diagnostic imaging. Medicinal products work by changing the body's biological process, like using drugs to treat infection or manage diseases. Medical devices work primarily through physical or mechanical means, like a pacemaker or MRI machine. So we finished now the second part of the lecture. Now go to third part of the lecture: country regulation of clinical trials. Clinical trials are heavily regulated to protect the safety of participants and maintain the integrity of the data. While regulation vary by a country or region, they often aligned with international standards, providing a constant framework for trial conduct worldwide. However, specific requirements may differ from one country to another. Regulation of clinical studies: global, regional, and national framework. There is a hierarchical structure for a clinical trial regulation. Global guidelines like the Declaration of Helsinki, ICH International Council for Harmonization Standards, set global ethical and scientific standards. Regional regulation like European Union level regulation like European Clinical Trials Regulation covering clinical trials, and in national regulation each country has its own regulation, such as the US 21 CFR or Germany AMG. This may apply to medicinal products and medical devices, each with its own regulatory pathway. National and regional regulation. The first one I will start with the global guidelines, Declaration of Helsinki, ethical principles for medical research involving human subjects. ICH, which is known as we can mention before International Council for Harmonization, provide standards for medicinal products, quality, safety, and efficacy. In ISO 14, or we can say 14155, focuses on good clinical practices for medical devices, including design, conduct, and reporting for clinical trials. European Union regulation, medicinal products, European regulation covering clinical trials on medicinal products, and simplifying the authorization process and increasing the transparency to enhance the patient safety. Medical devices governed by Medical Device Regulation, which is known as Medical Device Regulation MDR 2017-745, ensuring safety and performance. In vitro diagnostic medical device governed by IVD, and that's mean in vitro diagnostic medical device 2017-746, which applies to diagnostic tests like COVID-19 test, ensuring their performance in a clinical evaluation. And now by the United States regulation, in the United, clinical trials are regulated at the federal level under the code of the federal regulation, which is known as a CFR. Medicinal products regulated by the FDA under 21 CFR Part 312 for investigational and new drugs. Medical devices governed under 21 CFR Part 812 for investigational device exemption. This ensures that investigational products are previously tested for safety and efficacy before being approved for a broader use. International standards and harmonization. While regulation may differ by country or region, they generally follow global standards to ensure safety, ethics, and scientific integrity. Declaration of Helsinki provides ethical principles for research with human participants. ICH guidelines provides a harmonized standards for medicinal product trials, and ICO 14155 provide clinical trials guidelines for medical devices. These harmonized standards facilitate global collaboration in clinical research and ensure participant safety and ethical integrity are upheld across countries and regions. Now we go to the other part of the lecture is International Council for Harmonization of Technical Requirement for Pharmaceuticals of a human or for a human use. That's mean ICH. What is ICH? The International Council for Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Pharmaceuticals for human use is a global initiative formed in 1990. It brings together regulatory authorities like FDA, EMA, MHLW, PMDA, and the pharmaceutical industry to standardize the technical and scientific requirement for drug development. The goal is to improve the public health by creating harmonized guidelines that ensure quality, safety, and efficacy of medicines, and this reduces the need for redundant clinical testing, speeds up drug development, and improve access to the new treatment worldwide. Importance of international norms. International standards like those set by the ICH are crucial in ensuring global collaboration in science and technology, and they provide a common framework that ensures accuracy, reliability, and safety in scientific and technological advancement, and it promotes innovation by allowing researchers from different countries to share and build on each other's work. Understanding these norms is a key for students and researchers as they contribute to a connected and efficient world where discoveries can be replicated, trusted, and shared globally. The structure and the rules of the ICH. The ICH was founded in 1990 and includes the members from regulatory authorities like FDA, EMA, MHLWM, PD, and pharmaceutical industry representatives. ICH guidelines are adopted by countries, ensuring harmonization in the way pharmaceutical research and clinical trials are conducted worldwide. Key sections of ICH guidelines. Quality guidelines. Q series focus in ensuring the quality of pharmaceuticals products in the topics like good manufacturing practice, impurity, control, stability, testing. Examples like Q8 pharmaceutical development, Q9 quality risk management, Q10 pharmaceutical quality system. 2. Safety guidelines, we can say as serious. Focus on preclinical safety evaluation to identify the potential risk before clinical trials in humans. Topics like toxicology studies such as carcinogenicity, genotoxicity, and reproductive toxicity. Examples like QT interval studies to evaluate the high tourism safety. Efficacy guidelines, we can see E-series, focus on design, conduct, and analysis of clinical trials to assess the efficacy of new drugs. Topics: clinical trials design, statistical consideration, and safety monitoring. Examples like E6, Code Clinical Practice, Ethical and Scientific Quality of Trials. E9, Statistical Principles for Clinical Trials. E14, Cardiovascular Safety. Misdisciplinary guidelines, we can say M-series, addresses the topics that do not fit neatly into quality, safety, or efficacy categories. Topics: medical terminology standardization, regularity submission, and electronic standards, like MEDDRA standards terminology for adverse events. Common technical document, a harmonized format for submitting regularity data. Impact of ICH guidelines. ICH guidelines harmonize the drug development process globally, ensuring that the medicines are developed with high scientific and ethical standards. What are the benefits? Faster regularity approvals for new medicines, quick access to initiative therapies worldwide, reduction of redundant testing, saving time and resources, enhanced protection of clinical trials. Let's go to the other part of the lecture. ICH E6R2, which is mean Code Clinical Practice. Code Clinical Practice is an international set of guidelines for conducting clinical trials that involve human participants. It ensures that the rights, safety, and well-being of participants are protected. The data collected is accurate and reliable. Now we talk about the key elements of ICH E6R2 GCP. Rules and responsibilities. Institutional Review Board, Independent Ethics Committee, reviews and approves the trial protocol to ensure the participant safety. Investigator is the person who conducting the trial and ensuring that the study is done properly. Sponsor, the organization that funds and manages the trial, ensuring compliance with the regulation. Essential documents include documents like the clinical trials protocol and investigator brochure, which are needed to maintain the trial's integrity and meet regularity standards. Principles of ICH GCP. Ethical conduct. Trials should follow the ethical standards like the Declaration of Helsinki to protect the participants' right. Risk-benefit assessment. Trials should only begin if the benefits outweigh the risk, and safety should be continuously monitored. Scientific soundness. Trials should be well designed and based on a sound science. IRB IEC approval. The trial must be reviewed and approved by an ethics committee before it starts. Informed consent. Participants must agree to join the trial voluntarily, knowing the risks and the benefits. Confidentially, participant private information must be confidential. Good manufacturing practice. Investigational products must be made according to quality standards. Qualified personnel. All people involved in the trial must be trained and qualified. Protocol adherence. The trial must follow the approved protocol, which includes the study's objectives and methods. Data recording and reporting. Data must be accurately recorded and stored. Safety monitoring. Participant safety should be continually monitored throughout the trial. Quality assurance system should be in place to ensure the quality and the integrity of the trial. Compliance. The trial must follow all the applicable regulation, and guidelines. Why it matters: these principles help ensure the clinical trials are conducted ethically and scientifically, protecting the participants and ensuring reliable results. By following these guidelines, researchers can produce trustworthy and ethical research outcomes while safeguarding participant safety and rights. The structure and role of ICH E6R2, which is known as a good clinical practice. The good clinical practice guidelines define the key rules and responsibilities of the parties involved in clinical trials to ensure the ethical and scientific conduct. These parties include the Institutional Review Board IRB or Independent Ethics Committee IEC, the investigator, and the sponsor. So first, let's talk about the Institutional Review Board and Independent Ethics Committee. The IRB or IEC is an independent body that ensures the rights, safety, and well-being of the participants. The terms IRB and IEC are often interchangeably, with the IRB common in the USA and IEC used internationally. What their responsibilities: review and approve protocols, ensure the research protocol, informed consent documents, and any amendments are ethically sound and scientifically justified. Ongoing monitoring, continuously monitoring the trial, including safety reports and adverse events. The IRB IEC can halt a trial if safety concerns arise. Informed consent oversight, ensure that the informed consent process is clear and properly conducted. They may audit the process to confirm the compliance. Protection of vulnerable population. Special safeguards must be in place to protect the vulnerable participants. I mean here like a children's or individual with impaired capacity, women, infants. 2. Investigator. The investigator is a qualified physician or scientist responsible for conducting the trial. They ensure the trial adheres to the approved protocol and protect the participant safety. What their responsibility: conducting the trial, execute the trial according to the approved protocol, ethical guidelines, and regularity requirements. Participant safety and care, ensure the participant safety, monitor for adverse events, and provide necessary medical care. Informed consent, ensure informed consent is obtained for each participant or their legal representative before any trial procedures. Data accuracy and integrity, record the trial data accurately and in compliance with the GCP, ensuring the reliable results. Communication with the IRB or IEC, keep the IRB and IEC informed about the trial progress, protocol amendment, safety issues, and outcomes. Sponsor. The sponsor is an individual, company, institution, or organization responsible for initiating, managing, and financing the clinical trials. The sponsor ensures the trial design is scientifically sound and that all regulatory requirements are met. Responsibilities: protocol development, develop scientifically and ethically sound trial protocol, including endpoints, statistical analysis, and safety measures. Trial management, oversee the logistical and operational aspects, including investigator selection, trial progress, and adherence to the GCP. Regulatory compliance, ensure the trial compliance the regulatory requirements such as submitting application to authorities and getting protocol changes approved. Data management and reporting, ensures the quality and integrity of the collecting data, manage it properly, and report results to regulatory authorities. Safety oversight, to set up system to detect and report adverse events, including establishing a data monitoring committee if necessary. Investigational product supply oversees the manufacture, labeling, and distribution of investigational product, ensuring compliance with the good manufacturing practices standards. Collaboration and interconnection. IRP and IEC focuses on ethics and participant protection. Investigator ensures that trial execution, participant safety, and data integrity. Sponsor oversees trial design, management, and regulatory compliance. Like a summary of what we can talk about these roles work together to ensure the clinical trials are conducted responsibly, with the participant welfare and the data integrity safeguarded throughout the study. Essential documents of good clinical practice, like the same ICH E6R2. Just save in your mind that is a good clinical practice. Essential documents are key records that demonstrate a clinical trial's compliance with the good clinical practice and regulatory requirements, and these documents ensure the integrity of the data collected and the right safety and well-being of a trial participant are protected. They are categorized into three phases: before, during, and after the trial. So, we will talk about the essential documents recovered before the trial, and during the trial and after the trial. So, first, essential documents recovered before the trial. Before the clinical trial begins, content document must be prepared, reviewed, and approved to set up the trial and ensure ethical and scientific soundness. Clinical trial protocol. A detailed document that outlines the trial objectives, design, methodology, statistical consideration, and organization. It serves as a blueprint for conducting the trial. Investigator brochure IP, a collection of preclinical and clinical data about the investigational product. It provides essential information regarding the product's properties, safety, and expected effects. Informed consent document, forms that explain the trial's purpose, procedures, risk, benefits, and participants' rights. These documents are used to obtain the voluntary informed consent from the trial participants. Ethics Commit approvals, documentation confirming that the study protocol and consent form have been approved by Institutional Review Board of Independent Ethics Commit, ensuring the study meets ethical standards. These documents are crucial for ensuring that the trials is scientifically valid and ethically justified. Essential documents recovered during the trial. During the trial, the following documents must be maintained to ensure ongoing compliance and monitor the conduct of the trial. Case report forms, structures formed used to collect the data from participants, ensuring accurate and consistent data capture as per the protocol. Monitoring visit reports, records of site visits conducted by the sponsor or a monitor to verify the trial is being conducted according to the protocol GCP and regulatory guidelines, and these reports document findings and corrective actions if necessary. Adverse events and serious adverse events reports, documentation of any adverse events experienced by participants, detailing the nature, severity, outcome, and action taken to address the safety concerns. Maintaining these documents help ensure compliance with the protocol and safeguards participant safety during the trial. And now we talk about the essential documents recovered after the trial. After the trial is completed, final documents are needed to provide a comprehensive account of a study, which support regulatory submissions. Clinical study report, a detailed document summarizing the trial objectives, methods, results, and conclusion. It includes statistical analysis and an assessment of safety and efficacy. Audit certificates, documents showing that the trial has been audited to verify compliance with the protocol, GCP, and regulatory standards. Final ethical commit opinions. This include evaluation by ethics commit reflecting on a clinical or on the trial outcomes and adherence on ethical standards. And these documents ensure that the trial is properly closed with a clear record results and compliance for regulatory purposes. For a clinical trial master file, which is known as a TMF, is a centralized, organized collection of all essential documents. It includes all records necessary to demonstrate compliance with the ICH GCP and regulatory requirements. TMF is a vital tool for managing trial documentation and ensuring the integrity of data. What are the key points about the TMF? Completed and organized. The TMF must be complete, well organized, and accessible for auditing and inspection. Contemporaneous documents must be maintained and updated regularly, reflecting the real-time activities and archiving after the trial. The TMF must be archived for a specified period as per regulatory requirements, ensuring that all the trial activities and the decisions are well documented. So the TMF is crucial for verifying that the trial was conducted in accordance with all guidelines and regulatory standards. Now we talk about the other part, which is known as a clinical trial regulation in Europe. The EU Clinical Trials Regulation was introduced to streamline and harmonize the process of conducting clinical trials across the European Union, replacing the previous EU Clinical Trials Directive 2001/20 EC. This regulation aims to improve the speed and efficiency of a clinical trial approval while maintaining high safety and ethical standards for participants. Key features for a new regulation. Centralized submission process. Trials are submitted through a centralized system, the Clinical Trials Information System, which streamlines submission and promotes consistency across the EU member states. Transparency. CTIS, which is mean Clinical Trials Information System, makes the trial information publicly accessible, ensuring transparency and building trust in the clinical trials process. So the regulation is divided into two parts. The first part is common scientific documents, and the other part is national specific documents. So the first part is common scientific documents. This section includes documents relevant to all member states involved in clinical trials. These documents are reviewed once by a designated reference member state, reducing the application of effort. Example documents in part 1, like application form, overview of the trial's objectives and methods, protocol, detailed description of a trial design and methodology, investigation brochure, summary of clinical and non-clinical data, investigation product, good manufacturing practice documentation, information on the quality of the investigational product, safety and risk management plans, documents describing how the participant safety will be monitored. The other part is national specific document. This section includes documents specific to each country where the trial will be conducted, addressing local regularity and ethical requirements. Example documents in part 2, like subject recruitment arrangement, plans and materials for recruiting participants, details of investigators and facilities, information about local investigators and the trial sites, national insurance and liability information, coverage for the participants in the case of injury or adverse events. National regulatory authorities review those documents to ensure compliance with the local laws and regulations. And finally, EU regulation on medical device regulation, which is known as the MDR 2017/7400, governs clinical trials for medical devices in the European Union. The regulation established risk-based framework for clinical trials where the level of oversight and review depends on the risk classification of the device being tested. The classification system helps determine the necessary regularity and ethical review processes to ensure the participant safety, data integrity, and the quality of the trial. Risk classification and oversight in the clinical trials for medical devices. Medical devices are classified based on their potential risk to the patient. Regulatory framework establishes 3 trials of risk of clinical trials, and each trial requires different levels of security by ethics committee and relevant national authorities. So it will divided into three types: low risk devices for low risk devices, non-invasive or simple devices. The regularity oversight is generally minimal. The devices may require only a notification to the ethics committee rather than full approval. The ethics committee's role in these cases to ensure the study is conducted in an ethically sound manner and that participants' rights and safety are protected. Example: low risk devices do not pose significant harm to the patient, such as something monitoring equipment or devices with no direct patient impact. Regularity oversight limited to the notification or minimal review process. Ethical oversight focuses on ensuring the study complies with ethical principles but does not require detailed risk assessment. Medium risk devices for medium risk devices, the study must undergo a full assessment by both ethics committees and relevant national authorities. This ensures that both ethical and regularity compliance are met before the study can proceed. The ethics committee review involves examining the risk-benefit ratio. The national authorities will check that the study complies with the broader regularity standards. For example, the devices that are moderately invasive or have some direct impact on the body, like diagnostic devices that involve exposure to the moderate risk. Regularity oversight for review and assessment, including data on safety, performance, and risk management. Ethical oversight, comprehensive review to ensure the patient protection and informed consent. About the high risk devices, for high risk devices, implantable devices, devices with a significant potential for harm, comprehensive evaluation is required for both national authorities and ethics committee. Typically involves more detailed documentation, including extensive risk assessment and additional safety and performance data. High-risk devices that are invasive or have significant potential hazards, such as pacemaker implants or devices that support sustained life. Regularity oversight, in-depth review the regularity authorities with the additional requirement for safety and performance data, risk assessment, and the clinical evidence. Ethical oversight throughout evaluation by the ethics committee, ensuring that the trial addresses all potential risk and safeguards are in place for patient protection. And by that, we can finish the lecture too. Hope you understand anything. Bye.